We're talking now with Shashank Srivastava, Senior Executive Officer of Marketing and Sales at Maruti Suzuki. Mr. Srivastava, thank you so much for speaking with us. Pleasure to have you on NDTV Profit for the first time since December 8th when we have launched. So superb to have you here and talk about Maruti's journey. So a touch of nostalgia in the last few days when we saw that Maruti 800 has completed 40 years in India and, give us an opportunity to see how far we've come and what the next move is. So let me begin with that kind of view from you. The small car is now passé. Everyone wants, whoever is buying four-wheelers and passenger vehicles wants a compact SUV. EV is the new buzzword. Is Maruti also ready to abandon the small car as its mainstay, or is there still an attachment there?
No. First of all, I think it's disputable when you say it's passé, the small cars. By the way, small cars still last year 34% of the industry. Even this year, just under 30%. The total sales there expectedly in this year would be somewhere like a 11.5 lakhs. That's a pretty substantial volume. Maruti Suzuki last year sold about 9.5 lakh small cars. And that's like 1.5 times the total volumes of the nearest competitor. So it's not a small segment. And therefore, I think the segment in Indian context still very, very relevant, and I think would continue to be relevant for a long time.
What about growth numbers? Are they is the uptake of other segments or compact SUVs, like I'm saying, becoming higher than small cars in terms of growth trajectory, and forward looking? Are you seeing that changing? Or do you think that India is going to be a small car dominated market for a while, that all the rest is just noise?
No, clearly the SUV adoption rates have increased. In fact, in the last 3-4 years, as a percentage of the total passenger vehicle industry, SUVs now are almost 50%. They were half of this just about 4 years back. So yes, the growth trajectory for the SUVs really climbed up, no doubt about that. In fact, much of the growth, about 8.5% of this calendar year in the PV industry, is driven by SUVs and the MPVs. SUVs growing almost 26% against a decline in the small cars. So yes, SUVs have grown, and our projection is going forward. They will play to around 54-55% mark of the industry. And and as far as the small cars is concerned, our projection for 2030 is that while as a percentage, they may be about 24-25% of the industry, much lower than what they are today, but in terms of absolute volumes, would probably be higher than what they are today.
Fair enough. And what about Maruti's EV plans? We know that 2025 is the year when production begins. When can we expect a rollout? And the sense is that if there has to be a wider adoption of EVs in India, it has to be a Maruti product priced in that way. Is that the strategy going forward?
So for EVs, it's like this. 2024-25 financial year is when we launched the EV. And at the moment, the EVs are roughly 2.2% of the overall industry volumes. Expectedly, in 24-25, they should be around that 4%, 4.5% mark. And our research shows that whenever the EV market in a country touches that 4.5% type of mark, then that is sort of an inflection point after which the adoption rate for EVs go up. We have seen that happening in France, in UK, Germany, Korea, Norway, Netherlands, and so on and so forth. So we believe we are at the right time for introducing the EVs. Also, however, we believe that in order to meet the emission norms which have been set out by the regulatory bodies, I think EVs is still, for the reason of high cost of acquisition and the charging infrastructure leading to range anxiety among the consumers, I think the penetration which we are foreseeing for 2030 for EVs in India, EVs is about 20%. So it will increase, I think, from 24-25 onwards, but will reach about 20% by 2030. And yes, we have Maruti is always wanting to help this penetration and adoption of EVs, and one of the big ways of doing it is to localize the battery and battery components. Suzuki has invested almost 10,000 crores in battery plant and the related components. So I think that's one important part in trying to localize the battery, and battery, as you know, is 50% of the total cost of EV production. So yes, it should help us price competitively.
Will it be than what is currently there? Because that's the big barrier, isn't it? You have to pay more to go green.
Yes. So cost of acquisition, as I said, is a very important factor, which is currently pushing down the adoption of EVs. Besides the charging infrastructure, and you know, if you see the price to the EV price to the gasoline corresponding vehicle price, the ratios are most adverse for the smaller cars, and it's much better for the SUVs and the larger cars. So the adoption of EVs would probably be faster in the higher end, and that's why the reason why Maruti Suzuki also will be introducing its EV in the mid SUV space, and that's something which we have already confirmed to the general public.
All right. Well, so mid SUV EV expected by 25. One last question. How much are the price hikes next year?
We haven't really decided on the actual percentage of the hike, but yes, it appears that the price would be across all models, and it would be in some models substantial. But the exact quantum is something which we are still working on.
Range, if you can share, Mr. Srivastava.
What?
A price range of the hikes, if you can share, if not the exact quantum, of course.
Difficult for me actually to say, because you know the impact on the input cost for various models is different depending on the you know, so it's a little bit difficult for me to give that range here.
Okay, fair enough. I tried though. Thank you so much, Mr. Shashank Srivastava, for speaking with us and answering all of our questions today.